To unlock the Peacekeeper weapon, you will need to unlock 2 sets of dog tags and a weapon skin, 1 set of 3 dog tags, a weapon skin, followed by 2 dog tags. It is not a requirement for you to own all of the DLC, only the Turning Tides expansion so that you have unfettered access to the M1917 MG. If you do not own all of the DLC, you will have to rely on the relevant maps being put into the weekly playlists. You will need to unlock a Beginning Dogtag, a Conflict Dogtag, an Omen Dogtag, and an Escalation weapon skin, followed by an Angel Sighting Dogtag, and lastly, the Belly of the Beast Dogtag. But before we proceed with any of the steps, let's make sure our soldier is customized properly. Our primary weapon must be the M1917 MG. Our sidearm does not matter too much. I recommend the M1911 because it has a reloadable magazine. Gadgets 1 and 2 you can customize, but one of them must be the ammo crate and the other the limpet charge. Our grenade should be either the frag or stick grenade, depending on our side, and for the melee, I recommend the combat knife for a Conflict Dogtag. And lastly, no specific specializations are required for this Easter egg. However, I recommend a quick regen to be equipped as it is helpful during the last Easter egg for this quest. It is the medic symbol with the rotating clockwise arrow. Let's begin by unlocking an Escalation weapon skin. First, load up into a game of Albion and make sure it is Conquest. You will start on the German side most likely, make sure to swap to the Russian side. Make sure you spawn as support for the entirety of the Peacekeeper questline. If you look to your left, you will find some roads. I will do my best throughout this guide to follow the paths as designed by the developers of this game. If you run past a few houses up a hill, you will find a radio tower. Once you have reached the radio tower, equip a grenade and destroy the crates. However, this may not work. Use a limpet charge if this is so. You will now need to press the buttons of 9 boxes. You will have to go prone and get really up close to them, otherwise it might not work. Here's me adjusting now. I recommend aiming your gun in between the 2 bolts on the boxes, as I feel that this is the best hitbox to activate these boxes. Click each box once. This is number 3. Go prone for the first 3, crouch for the 4th, crouch for the 5th, prone for the 6th, stand up for the 7th, prone for the 8th, and prone for the 9th. Click the button for each box once. Then run down the hills, following the tracks to find a house. This house is recognizable for that burning fire pit to its left. Open the door and chuck a grenade inside. This will reveal a switch on the wall. Crouch down, make sure to aim at the knob in the middle, and click the button once. Go back to the radio tower. You will repeat the previous step. Go prone for the first 3 boxes, clicking each of them once. Make sure to be careful of the hitboxes. Crouch for the 4th. This is the 3rd one, keep prone. Crouch for the 4th. Crouch for the 5th. Prone for the 6th. And stand up for the 7th. Make sure to prone for 8 and 9. When you have clicked each box once again, follow the tracks and path back to the burning fire pit house. When you arrive at the same house, click the button 4 times. Make sure to space them out. Return to the radio tower now, but make sure to not activate any of the boxes again. If you go in front of the radio tower, you will hear Morse code now. If you crouch and stand up next to it, you will hear it is quieter than if you were to go prone and face front in it. So make sure to go prone and face mash the radio tower. You will now be hearing a Morse code generated for the entire server to hear. All players will be able to hear this Morse code. It will repeat itself infinitely. When attempting to decrypt your Morse code, there are a few options available to you. One of them is to record your gameplay footage and play it back either on your phone after you've recorded it or onto another app and play it back at a very slow pace, meaning you will be able to hear the dots and dashes. I'm not too familiar with this method, so I can't comment too much on it, but here's an example of it being shown. Another option available to you is to upload as an MP3 file a recording of your gameplay footage onto an external program like Audacity. Here, if I convert it to a spectrogram with mono audio, I can actually physically see the Morse code. Now, there's a few things you can do to manipulate it. This is me clicking Command A or Select All. This is another way of seeing the Morse code. Alternatively, you can go into Effects and normalize your audio. Don't mind too much of the settings, experiment around a little bit to see what works for you, and you might find a better way of seeing your Morse code. That way, you can just type it up into the Morse code translator. And lastly, you can go to the Battlefield Easter egg Discord and post your clean audio gameplay footage, not your phone recording, into the Easter egg help section. As we can see here, Killer 20 is being a legend by helping this person out. This will take the most time, but there are plenty of people willing to help. Going back to our original Morse code, this is what it ended up translating to. After you have received your Morse code and successfully translated it, you are now ready for the next step. You will be going to a plot of houses right before the lighthouse. Make sure to follow the official game pathing, and I will show you the way. Once you arrive at the houses, you will be destroying a series of lanterns with your combat knife. This is house number 1. Make sure you carefully go through the door as to not destroy anything inside. You only want to hit the lantern. Taking a right and making sure to follow the footprints in the snow like I do, take a left when you get to this house right here. This is house number 2. Once again, carefully open the door and smash the lantern which is located to your right. By smashing these lanterns, you are activating a series of letters inside the lighthouse that you will soon interact with. Here's house number 3. Make sure to not open the door of this house, otherwise you could mess up the steps of this Easter egg. I will now show you houses 4, 5, and 6. Scattered throughout the lighthouse are a series of switches ranging from F to A from bottom to top. Do not activate any of these yet. These are letters corresponding from F to A from the base of the lighthouse to the top of the lighthouse. For example, this is switch C. At the top of this letter will be switch B, and a little bit further up will be switch A. What you are doing in this Easter egg is inputting a part universal code that also includes your Morse code that you decrypted from earlier. You will be inputting these in a timely fashion and activating a switch at the top of the lighthouse. Here is the code now. This is the last letter D. After you activate the last letter of the code, proceed to go to the very top of the lighthouse. Once at the top, there is a small light in front of the lighthouse that you can activate. It will trigger an ominous noise. You have now successfully completed an Escalation Easter egg. When you go back to your redeployment or customization soldier screen, you should now be able to equip an Escalation Skin for your M1917 MG. An Omen Dogtag. Hopefully, you are now a little bit more proficient in recording and decrypting Morse code portrayed within this game. We will now be spawning in a map of Zeebrugge in a game of Conquest. You will start on the Royal Marines side. Make sure to spawn in with them. Make sure to spawn in on a boat and you will transport yourself to the E flag, otherwise known as the burning ship. If you drive to the side of the ship, there will be ladders that you can access from the sea. Make sure to climb them. Once you have climbed on board, take a right and you should be heading for the bow of the ship. Here we will wait for the infiltrator kit to spawn, which will take several minutes. I believe it is 2, but there is a possibility it also might be 5. You will just simply have to wait for it. Once the infiltrator kit has spawned, make sure to pick it up. You will now need to run to the other side of the map, otherwise known as the A flag. At the A flag will be the water tower. You will have to climb it. Let me show you this now. Once you have reached the water tower at flag A, make sure to climb up to the very top. You will then proceed to hear an ominous noise. You will notice, unlike Albion, the volume of the Morse code is the same, whether you are standing, crouch, or prone. What this Morse code is spitting out a Latin phrase known as Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. It is very similar to Albion in the sense that it is a server randomized code. What this means is that each time you hop into a new server, you will get different variations of this code. However, since the Infiltrator is the only unit in the game to have a set of headphones on this map, this is the only person, or the player playing the Infiltrator will be the only person able to hear this code. As I have just mentioned, the Latin phrase Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori is being spit out currently in intervals. What you have to decode is that there are 8 missing letters within this phrase that the Infiltrator cannot hear. When you record and decrypt the Morse code, you will have to figure out which of the letters are missing within this phrase. You will then input them into the stations I showed earlier in terms of Morse code. Once you have successfully decoded your letters, you will now be going to the B flag, more specifically to Station 1. Once you have arrived at the station, you will see that there is a series of panels with light switches. Make sure to avoid the left door, as there are no stations within it, but now you can see the more stations. If you go up close to them, you will see that there's a hitbox for the light switches. You can click these on and off, which represent dots and dashes. Lights off mean dashes, while lights on mean dots. Going from left to right, and from the beginning of the phrase in terms of the missing letters, from the beginning of the phrase to the end of the phrase, you will now input the Morse alternative to the missing letters that you found. After you have inputted the code for the first 4 letters in Station 1, you will now be traveling to Station 3 to input the last 4 letters in the order of the phrase in which you found them into the stations. Depending on that you have successfully decrypted your Morse code, the last Morse station that you activate will drop a smoke grenade, and an ominous noise will play. You have successfully completed the Subuga Easter egg. You now have unlocked an Omen Dogtag, a Beginning Dogtag. First, spawn into a game of Suez Conquest. This, a Beginning Dogtag, is probably the most tedious one to unlock and definitely my least favorite. I recommend it in the later stages of the Peacekeeper Easter egg, as it requires a proficient understanding of how to decrypt Morse code. Make sure to spawn in on the British side as a cavalry unit. What you are doing here is you are locating a pair of headphones. There are 5 possible spots where these headphones can spawn. If for any reason you do not find the headphones in any of the 5 locations, restart your game. Do not waste time trying to find headphones that do not exist. It may be glitchy. This is the first possible spot to locate these headphones. Going on your horse and looking towards your left, you will see a tower. Follow this tower and go down to find a station dock. Here we can see the pair of headphones. If you stand over them, it will make an ammo resupply noise. This is the second possible location to pick up these headphones. There are 3 more possible locations. I will show you these now. Stop at the B flag. Near the B flag, there will be another possible spot for headphones. They're usually right here. However, I recommend that you patrol the grass above it and just circle back and forth a few times in case they're not there. This is the 4th out of the 5 possible locations for headphones on Suez. It will spawn near in the corner of these sandbags. However, this is a very uncommon location as I have never actually spotted the headphones in these locations. Lastly, the 5th possible location is near the radio tower at the E flag. It will be in a patch of grass or a chunk of rocks depending, right around this corner. They are usually right here. But once again, I recommend patrolling back and forth to see if the headphones potentially spawn in any area of this location, but they will definitely spawn around here. Now that you have checked all 5 locations and hoping that you've picked up a pair of headphones, otherwise restart, let's head to the Morse code station. It is just nearby the 5th location, which is why I recommend Suez for this Easter egg step. Careful when approaching the Morse code station, as after you've walked into a certain radius of it, it will start playing. This appears red because I've already done this Easter egg. But if you do this for the first time, the color on the station will be white and a Morse code will play. It will repeat itself an infinite amount of times until you walk away from the station. Make sure to walk away from the station after you successfully recorded and decrypted your Morse code. After you have your Morse code, go onto Mozzie's Morse Solver. It can do all the stages for you and reduce a lot of tedious work. See, if you highlight over the numbers, you can see what color stage you're supposed to be on. If I type in a certain code, it will start to reduce the amount of possible locations. This code ended up being Tree Train Après-Mort. What we are doing for this dog tag is reducing the possibility of locations to locate a symbol amongst a wall. This one, of course, being on the train. What you would have to do is spawn in to a game of Argonne Forest and go to this train, going very, very close to the symbol, and therefore activating it. Here's an example of this being done. Let's utilize the previous example. Once the Morse code plays, I will attempt to translate it on Mozzie's Morse Solver. The content creator ended up translating this to Stove Turret Venetian, which I will attempt to do so now. Let's take a look at this code that was just shown. If I type it in, the Mozzie's Morse Solver algorithm will start to reduce the amount of possible locations, and very quickly we have found that it is indeed Stove Turret Venetian. What you would next do is go to Stove Turret Venetian location, go face mash with the symbol on the wall, and activate the ominous noise. Let's take a look at one more example of this, but of a later stage. If I click on stage 4, which requires you to be proficient with a Caesarian shift cipher, Mozzie's Morse solver eliminates the need for you to understand this. Just simply type in the code, click on stage 4, and you will have your location. This one ended up being Crate Jabal Jafar, which is a certain spot on the map Sinai Desert. What you would then do is go to Sinai Desert, specifically to this location, and go face smash with the symbol on the rock to activate an ominous noise. You will be repeating this for stages 1 to 8. Pick up a pair of headphones from the 5 possible locations on Suez. If they are not there, restart the map and join another server, and then go back, pick up a pair of headphones, record your Morse code, decrypt it, translate the location, and then find your symbol, face smash with the wall corresponding to that symbol, and activate the ominous noise. You might have to adjust your body position once you get to the symbol, but it shouldn't be too much hard work. Once again, repeat this for stages 1 through 8. For stage 9, pick up another pair of headphones and go to the Morse station one more time. It will show a cyan color and play another code. Destroy it once you've listened to it. You do not need to input your Morse code on Mozzie's Morse solver, as this location is the same for everybody. It is on the map Giant's Shadow, and it is known as the balcony lookup location. I will show you this now. Once again, hop onto a map of Giant's Shadow on the Conquest game mode and spawn on the German side. If you look behind you, there will be a windmill. Travel to this windmill now. I unfortunately did not use the official road for this, but I will show you to them now. Once you have reached the top of the windmill to the point where you can mount a machine gun, stand just a little bit back, but look at the sky. Look at all the angles available to you. Look from left to right, a little bit down. What you have done now is activate a timer. This timer goes on for 2 minutes, and what you are specifically looking for on this balcony are birds. These birds will occasionally fly through your screen. It is best if you track them. You do not see me doing this now because the Easter egg will not activate for me any longer. Eventually, after 2 minutes though, you will look for a pigeon to fly on the left of your screen. This is where you're supposed to look. When the pigeon swoops basically in your face, make sure to hold the interaction button, and therefore you will hear a dog tag noise if you complete this successfully. Let me show you this now. You will now have unlocked a Beginning Dogtag, a Conflict Dogtag. Perhaps the most daunting out of all the Easter egg steps within getting this Peacekeeper weapon, a Conflict requires you to solve 2 major puzzles, the Candelabra puzzle and the Sandbag Grid puzzle. First, load up on the map of Soissons in a game of Conquest. You will most likely start on the French side. Make sure to swap to the German side. Before you spawn in, make sure you have the following equipment: a light machine gun with plenty of bullets, an ammo crate, a limpet charge, a stick grenade, and a combat knife melee weapon. Spawn in on the German side and proceed to head to the E flag building. Once inside, what we need to do is destroy every single light source within this building. This includes all the lanterns on the wall, lights on the ceilings, and the candlesticks. Use limpets for these large crates. Use your combat knife to find a minimum distance, striking distance for the candlesticks and shoot the wall lights out. This will take you probably a few minutes. Make sure to destroy all the walls in between so that you could view or theoretically view a candlestick from across the building. Once you are satisfied that you have destroyed every single light source within this building, you will hear an ominous noise when you shoot the last light out. This is confirmation that we can now proceed with the next step, the candelabra step. The candlesticks are organized in a clockwise fashion. This is candlestick number 1. If I click it, it will activate and a few lights will show. So far, candlesticks number 1 and 6 appear to be illuminated. Repeating this step again, in my Battlefield Easter egg a candle conflict solver website, I would mark ID number 1 as 1,6, no spaces. I will repeat this for IDs number 2 to 7. This is an example of what a conflict candle solver might look like. Notice how there's one candlestick for ID number 7. When I click solve, I get 1, 1, 4. This means I will click candlestick number 1 twice and candlestick number 4. I will disregard any other illuminated candles. It should go something like this. Once again, upon completion, an ominous noise will trigger. We are now ready to proceed with the sandbag portion of this Easter egg. While we wait for the sandbags to properly spawn, as the Peacekeeper Easter egg can be glitchy sometimes, let us set up our grid. Starting from this black checker on this corner, starting from its right side, we are going to shoot 3 to the left. This is setting up row H. If you go to the corner of the room, this is now set up your rows. If you go to the other corner of the room, this is now set up your columns. Now just simply complete the square. Making sure that is 8 by 8, you have now successfully completed your grid. I also recommend drawing a plus sign through the middle of your grid as to better orientate yourself and your corners. It has helped me a lot, and I highly recommend that you do so as well. Make sure that these lines split 4s on all sides so that you have 4 squares. I have now marked the top so that you know that this is the top of the square. The sandbags will now have been given ample amounts of time to spawn. Every time you hop into a server, the position of these sandbags are randomized. It is not individually randomized, so a friend may be able to help you out. What we are doing is marking the sandbag positions in our fountain square grid to then later be translated into our light zone grid. This is an example of a green corner, specifically the top left. This is also known as row D, column D. This is an example of an orange sandbag. It will be more towards the middle on the left side. Now, examining this from a distance, I can see a few more orange and red sandbags, but no yellow. Yellow sandbags would appear 1 to 2 steps up, depending on your perspective. So right now what I am doing is I am tracking or recording the sandbag positions I see into the fountain square into my fountain square grid. This is another example of an orange that is closer to the middle and is on the downwards position of your graph. Once you have successfully recorded your sandbag positions and translated them into your 8x8 light zone grid, it is now time to figure out which of the pillars activate your columns and which of your pillars activate your rows. I just examined pillars 1 through 8, and now I am examining pillars 9 through 16. They go from the left to the right. You can use the flagpole as a reference. Number 12 is to the left of the flagpole, and 13 is to the right of the flagpole. The brown pillars that you see on the windows also show the position of the pillars. Right now what I'm about to do is use number 4 as my reference and number 5 as it is close by and easy to do so. I see that this has activated a light. I will record 4, 5 in row A, column E, grid position. Now I need to figure out whether 4 or 5 is my row or column. This will determine which I use as a reference. So I'm going to keep one number the same, being pillar number 4, and now I'm going to do pillar number 6 as a pair. I am now checking, using my body to block the sun, to see if any lights have been activated. 4 and 6 have not been activated, and therefore 4 and 6 are either both rows or both columns. I do not know this information yet. So I am now trying pillars 4 and 2 to see if new information comes up. 4 and 2 have activated row A, column A. So now this tells me a few pieces of information. Number 4 is my row, and columns 2 and 5 are columns. So now, knowing that 4 is my row, I will use 4 and test it with all the other pillars to figure out which numbers are my columns. I will then use 2, as it is in the shadows, to test all of my rows. This helps me to deduce which columns, or which pillars, activate my rows and columns. This will allow me to successfully activate these pillars in pairs very specifically to my sandbag positions that I have translated into my light zone grid, or my 8x8 grid. So then eventually, once I have figured out the identity of all the columns and all the rows, I will turn these off, keeping, if there are any sandbag positions within those rows and columns I used as reference points, I will keep them turned on. Otherwise, I will turn them all off. Then I will proceed to activate only the sandbag positions that I've translated into my 8x8 grid, therefore successfully completing this Easter egg. As I progress with trying to figure out which are my pillars or my rows and columns, you can see that it begins to look like a plus sign. I will eventually turn off all the non-relevant, aka the light positions that are not associated with my sandbag positions, off. You will soon see how I have already discovered the identities of the rows and columns, as there are light zone positions activated in the middle and a non-plus sign. So this means I'm starting to activate the pillars in pairs, which correspond to my 12 sandbag positions. Therefore, when you complete this Easter egg, you should have 12 assortment of lights activated. Notice as how I activate these pillars and see a light spot activated on my 8x8 grid, I proceed to shoot it. This lets me know that I've activated this light. But because I am more progressed with this Easter egg and therefore know the rows and columns for this grid, I'm not too concerned with this process. But it is especially helpful when you're beginning to use this, when you're beginning to discover the identities in the rows and the columns for the first time. Remember, these are randomized each time you hop into a server. They will not be the same for any player. A Conflict Dogtag is awarded to the person who clicks the last successful pillar. Another ominous noise will play. Congratulations on completing your A Conflict Dogtag puzzle. It is certainly the most daunting, but I will try and proceed to make it as simple as possible. I recommend that you watch one of my walkthroughs if you're still a little bit confused about the process. In the end, you should have 12 and only 12 light zone positions activated on your 8x8 grid, corresponding to the 12 sandbag positions that you translated from outside on your Fountain Square grid. You have now unlocked a Conflict Dogtag. An Angel Sighting Dogtag. Congratulations, you are now in the home stretch of the Peacekeeper questline. Load up into a game of River Somme and spawn on the British side. You will be heading to an abandoned or destroyed factory just before the E flag. It is located at the edge of the map for the British side on the left side. I recommend taking a bike. But be advised, it will take a few seconds or even possibly a minute to spawn. When you arrive at your destination, throw a limpet charge in this outlined foxhole. Make sure to throw it properly, otherwise you could blow up the location incorrectly. I will show you an example of this now. If you orientate your limpet charge incorrectly, you might find that your foxhole now looks like this. The Moore station is now not quite as visible. Unfortunately, you cannot re-limpet charge this extra dirt away. You have to either restart your game onto a new map, or you can still do the Easter egg, but you have to be confident that you have activated the switches correctly. Assuming you have uncovered your foxhole correctly, you can see 5 switches. Very similar to Zeebrugge, you'll be inputting a series of numbers alternative Morse codes into the station, but since there are only 5 light switches, you can only do one number at a time. Input 1 number's worth of Morse code into the station and confirm at the base of the top right lamp. The top lamps will flash if you have inputted a number. It does not necessarily mean that you are correct. The numbers are universal in Morse code, and you can find them on the Battlefield 1 Detectives Wiki site. Doing this series will activate another ominous noise. We are now ready to proceed with the next step. There will be a red house located at the A flag, otherwise known as British Spawn. Go there. Once at the houses, the one with the green door, you will proceed to limpet charge its corner. Once it's exploded, make sure to climb up to the chimney. This demands a precise attempt at parkouring, so it may take you a few tries. Inside should be a switch of the chimney, but if it doesn't appear, limpet charge it again like so. Proceed to climb back to the top. There you can now see the switch. You will have to climb up to the chimney, go prone, and activate it. As you have heard the ominous noise, this means we are now proceeding to the next step of the Easter egg. We are going back to the manhole cover to insert our final series of numbers. A confirmation that we are doing this Easter egg correctly is that you can now notice that the lights are green. You will now repeat the previous step as you did before. Input each new number in Morse code, then confirm at the base of the light, which is located on the top right hand side. When you have finished this step, you will notice that the lights turn red. Notice how you have heard a dog tag noise instead of an ominous noise. This still means that you've completed the Easter egg. You have now unlocked an angel sighting dog tag. Belly of the Beast dog tag. You will be loading into a game of Caporetto on Conquest. Make sure to spawn as the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. You will be traveling to the B flag where you will locate a group of statues. Once at the statues, we will be destroying them in certain ways in a specific order to complete this Easter egg. I am showing you these statues now. The first statue we will interact with is this left one. You will shoot its head off. When you proceed to shoot it, you will notice that it may not completely destroy it first. Make sure to break it at its neckline. The next statue that we will interact with is the right statue. I am showing it now. You will shoot its right wingtip off. The third statue you will interact with is the middle statue. Shoot its torso off. Here is the fourth statue. Limpet charge it at the base. When all four statues are destroyed correctly, a lovely white noise will play. There is now one remaining statue to destroy. There is a statue located at the bottom of the hill behind the B flag where you press a hidden button at the back of this statue. Wait a few seconds and it will actually destroy all the statues. After hearing the dog tag noise and ominous noise, we can now back out. You have now unlocked a Belly of the Beast dog tag. The Peacekeeper. Before we proceed, make sure to equip at least one dog tag from the front and back side of the progression tab within dog tags. You will also need an Escalation weapon skin equipped. Spawn into a game of Passchendaele on the German side. Make sure it is a game of Conquest. Once again, I am showing that you need an Escalation weapon skin equipped for your M1917 MG. I'm showing you how to do this now. You will also need the Quick Region specialization equipped as well as a limpet charge. Make sure to have the dog tags equipped as well if you haven't done so already. We will be heading to the mine shaft, which is located underneath the E flag. Once at the mine shaft, make sure to limpet charge it in the middle. If you do not get it correctly, you may have to restart your server. If you crouch and face the middle, looking to your left and right, you can see that you can interact with these detonation switches. You will be inputting a code to them, which I will show you now. Upon successfully inputting the code, you will notice at the last frame that you can no longer interact with the switches. An ominous noise will play, and the earth will begin to rumble. The mine will explode. You can now head inside and interact with the detonation switch located in the middle. Once activated, you will be teleported into a mineshaft. Inside this mineshaft, you must correctly head into a series of specific directions in order to obtain the Peacekeeper. You will likely take fall damage during this process. Once you are at the end of one mineshaft, make sure to recover your full health. When you click the button, make sure to press your body by walking against the wall before you fall. This will minimize the amount of fall damage you take. One thing that you will notice is that because you are teleporting into the next mineshaft, you can actually orientate yourself beforehand. If you land into a new mineshaft, you will see that you can choose between 4 different directions worth of mineshafts. By orientating yourself and letting your health fully recover within the safe zone, you eliminate the need to choose and therefore minimize the time that you take damage. Because pretty soon, as you progress further into these mineshafts, you will receive damage from smoke clouds, and orientating yourself means you minimize the time that you interact with these smoke clouds. You cannot equip a gas mask to reduce the amount of damage that you take. The last mineshaft, you will see a box before you. It will contain the Peacekeeper. From there you can simply pick it up, although its hitbox is slightly annoying. One last huzzah of an ominous noise will proceed to play. Congratulations, you are now a proud owner of the Peacekeeper. It will go into its pause idle animation. There is nothing more you can do in this room except for explore the new lore. Once you redeploy, you will notice that you can now equip the Peacekeeper even from the quick menu for all of your classes, as I will show you now. It certainly is one of the most fun guns to use, although not the most competitive within this game. But less talking from me, more peacekeeping for you. Enjoy.